stop making this mistake. Yeah, no, stop it. Hi, this is Alicia, and in today's video, I want to talk about the biggest mistakes subject to investors make when approaching a deal. Okay, here we go. So, don't oh God, I want to say this so bad. All right. Okay, the biggest mistake that you are making when approaching subject to deals is trying to assume the seller's loan and then calling up the bank to convince the bank that you're going to take over the seller's loan and assume the seller's loan and to try to get their approval. Stop that. Stop it. No, it's too hard what you're trying to do. You don't have to do it that way. Let me tell you how to do it. Okay. First, let me say, subject to has nothing, believe me, nothing to do with a loan assumption. It doesn't really have to do with the lender directly, but it has everything to do with the seller and who is the borrower on the loan, right? So and that's the owner, and the only person that you really need to convince of anything is that owner, the seller. That's who's making the payments. So the lender doesn't care about you. He don't care about you and your arrangements with the seller. Let me say this again. The lender doesn't care about you or your arrangement, but or who's going to actually ultimately make the payments, just as long as they get the scheduled payments. All right, so don't try to convince the bank to approve your deal. You, the investor, only need to convince the seller, who is the borrower of the loan in the transaction. You don't need to call up the lender to tell them anything except to say, to get information on the seller's loan. Are they in foreclosure? They won't tell you if there are any other liens. You have to find that out yourself, right? But you will find out things like what is the mortgage balance, interest rate, but actually all those things are on the mortgage statements, the one that you will ask the seller for, right? If they don't have it, then pull it down on the lender's website. You can do that. They probably already have an account at the lender's website anyway. So just ask them to pull one down and then give that to you. And that will give you everything you want to know. But I like to call the bank anyway, and get the authorization signed so that I can speak to the bank. And I like to find out things that I probably wouldn't know. Like, is the loan in default? How many payments are there behind? Sometimes it does say that on the mortgage statement. Sometimes it really does not. And then I have to call anyway. But I like to do that because it makes me feel good, knowing that I have found out everything for myself. Okay, so don't tell them anything. Oh yes, I plan to take over subject to. I did that a few times, when I was getting cocky. I was doing all kinds of deals left and right, and and I had a lot of deals on my desk, and I just wanted to just say, yeah, well, I own it at this point. But I don't do that. So don't confuse a formal loan assumption with a subject to deal. They are very different. One requires the lender's approval, and the other one, not so much. So if you go to call up the lender and to get their, if you go to call up the lender and to try to get their approval, you will automatically, by default, be sent over to the department that handles loan assumptions. Or they would just tell you that loan is not assumable. So in a formal loan assumption, the lender has to approve the transaction and you must qualify for that loan. So, and that's even if the loan is assumable. And newsflash, let me tell you, most loans for residential properties are not going to be assumable. In subject to investing, in summary, and by the way, I'm really sorry. Let me apologize for my more advanced subject to investors who already know all this. This is like, review for you. I'm sorry that I had to say it, but I hate, when people say, oh, subject to doesn't work because I can't qualify for the loan. What's the point? And the truth is, you don't have to qualify for anything. And I've always said, if you just got out of jail, you can do it too. All right. In subject to investing, we don't care about what the loan documents say, whether they're assumable or not, since we're not trying to formally assume any loan. So when you take over a loan, we are just taking over the payments. All we're doing is we are taking somebody's payments and making them. That's it. So there is no qualifying in that. And so when you take over the payments, and most payments, by the way, includes the principal, taxes, insurance, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Principal and interest is always the same with every loan. No matter what, they don't separate them, okay? When you say you're making your mortgage payment, it really always is the principal and interest. So when you take a mortgage that is amortized over 30 years and you give it an interest rate and you make payments, you are obviously making the payments that include the interest. So then in order for you to start making payments, and most loans these days, they make the homeowner escrow payments for taxes and for your homeowner's insurance. So sometimes you have the option of not doing that, but most of the time they make you do it. Because guess what? If the property burns down and there's no insurance on the property, then the lender loses, because then there's an asset that has no insurance on it, then they're not named additionally insured. That can't happen. So you have to have homeowner's insurance, right? And if anything happens where the taxes aren't paid, and you're in a state like Texas where they have a tax deed sale, in other words, they'll sell your house for the taxes that is owed on it, then the bank loses. They really can't. They don't have precedent. They might have a first mortgage, but they do not have that much right over a taxing authority. Yeah, so a mechanic lien, by the way, and the taxes have more, is more important, than even the mortgage. I know, but so back to what I'm saying. So you have to have homeowner's insurance, and you must make those taxes. So for the insurance, I get a lot of questions on should you get your own insurance or not? And my answer is get your own insurance. Yeah, I know you can just leave the insurance the way it is there, right? And then yes, put yourself on that insurance and name yourself as additionally insured. Put your LLC as additionally insured. But guess what? There's no harm in getting another insurance, really. So call up your favorite insurance company and tell them you just acquired a house, right? And you want to put insurance on it. Here is the owner, which is your LLC, and here is, oh, by the way, I am the trustee of the XYZ trust, and this is how it needs to be. And yes, there is a lender underneath it, and so they need to be on the policy. So the lender will know that there's a new policy. Do they really care? Not really, as long as they're on there. You know what I mean? I've never gotten called and said, well, why did the policy change? Never. It's just like, if it changed and I'm saying, well, yeah, I changed it to a landlord policy. Or I can say, well, I wanted more money. Yeah, I'm trying to make my deductibles lower, and I'm going to make the value of my insurance higher. No big deal. So there it is. I think it's a good idea to go ahead and get new insurance. So, in summary, do not call the lender to tell them of your transaction and your arrangements with the seller. You're only calling the lender in order to get information on the loan so that you can make an educated decision as to whether or not you want this subject to deal. And then you want to make sure you get that power of attorney signed and all the documents that I'm telling you to get, so that when you contact this lender in the future, they will only have to contact you, only you for this loan. Okay, I hope that helped you, and please do subscribe. And I do look at the comments and I do respond to them. So make a comment, give me a question, and I will try to answer it. Thank you so much.